So I want to talk more about stress so that I'm sure that you get this. And I know there are a lot of folks out there that really understand it, but I'm going to talk a little bit about the science very briefly, but it's enough for us to understand and be able to discuss what it is key, in my opinion, about the relationship between stress, depression, and suicidal thinking. So we know that the stress response was created by our physiology to protect us from physical harm as we were evolving as a species. And it was all about creating the best possible escape mechanism. And so when we go into stress, the amygdala is the storehouse of trauma memories. And it really is the arbiter of what's going on outside of us. And when the vibration of some external event comes in, the amygdala compares that to all the other trauma memories that we have, and it says, oh, that's just like that one, or that's close enough. We need to go into fight or flight. We need to escape. We need to prepare to get away from this physical threat. And that's how it works. And what happens when cortisol, which is the stress hormone, which is keys and starts the whole process, cortisol causes our heart rate to go up. Our immune system is stalled or diminished, our digestion is stalled, and it pumps sugar and steroids into the bloodstream. The sugar, of course, for energy, steroids in case we get injured. But the point is there's one other thing that it does, which is important to us, is it takes blood from other organs that the physiology doesn't believe that we need when we're running away from the tiger, so that it can direct that blood to the large skeletal muscles. So again, we're the most efficient kind of escape mechanism we could be. Unfortunately, one of the organs that gets the blood taken away from it is the brain, and it's this prefrontal cortex region of the brain, which is the center of our cognitive thought, our strategic reasoning, all of our executive functions. And one more thing, and important to our purpose also, is it's the spiritual center. Now, we're not talking about religion, right? We're talking about the sense of connection, the sense of feeling as part of the whole, that somebody has my back. The new sciences like interpersonal neurobiology, that teaches us that, the sense of having supportive relationships is key to our health and well-being. Right, so yes, thank you. So the whole point, of course, is that stress really protected us and did a job for us to protect us from physical harm as we evolved as a species. It made us possible to survive. However, when we started building houses, when we started building fences, and we no longer had multiple daily physical threats on our lives, and virtually none now, most of us rarely have a physical threat. Our physiology, wondering what the hell to do with itself, started to manage our emotional lives and to trigger stress whenever we were having a psychological threat. And that's what we have now. We have our physiology sending us into physical response for a psychological event. And unfortunately, it's now in our society a chronic, we call it chronic runaway stress. Stephen Alardi, Kansas University clinical psychologist, writes a lot about it. But this whole concept of the runaway stress is what yields to depression. If we stay in stress, then the natural place to go is to get depression. And untreated depression is the core source of suicidal thinking. And with that comes hopelessness. And that is the mind state that our modern society is in. We are in chronic runaway stress. Most of us never get out of stress. We're never really have a clear strategic thought working for us because we've got some cortisol in our bloodstream and it keeps taking blood away from that part of our brain, and we don't really feel the connection. And that's how we live our lives. And depression is an epidemic. In the last 20 years, we've had a 300% rise in the diagnosis of depression. 1 out of 9 Americans above the age of 12 is taking an antidepressant medication, and we know that that's underdiagnosed. There's a lot more people out there suffering from untreated depression. So I want to be sure you understand as we go through and we talk about suicide and what's happening with people with suicide, and why it is they can't make sense of things and everything's hopeless. It's because they're in stress and they have no blood in the prefrontal cortex. They need more blood up there. And when we talk and work with people, you'll see they start to lose that stress. They start to feel the care and concern you show. They start to be able to make sense of things. So it's very important to me that you understand that physiological challenge that we're against.